Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, I've got 3 really easy, budget-friendly, patriotic style DIYs. So let's get started. Let's get started with our first DIY here. I've got a sign from the Dollar Tree. I picked one that was kind of a mess because I knew it wouldn't matter. This is from their new, is it Shore Living Line, I think is what it's called. But you can see it was not well done, but it's okay. I peeled off what was like majorly coming off, and then we're just going to flip it over and use the back side. But I'm going to use some lightweight spackling to fill in the holes where the hanger was. And once that dries, you just want to sand that down and then you're good to go. And so I'm going to go in with some Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and I'm going to do like a heavy, I don't know if I could even call it a dry brush, but kind of like a heavy dry brush. I want the board to show through. It's just an MDF, but it'll kind of look like a rustic wood piece this way. And so I'm just going to go in with a lot of white paint, but I'm not going to, get every edge and make it all perfectly even. I'm not going to do a second coat or anything like that. I also want to say that you can cover the other side with like some craft paper or something like that so that it does look complete. I just don't show that in this video. All right, so moving on, I've got this little sign from Dollar Tree in their little patriotic section, and I'm just taking it apart. We're just going to use the stars for this DIY, and I'm going to sand it down. We're actually going to use the back side mostly. You'll see in just a second, but I wanted to just sand down where the what am I trying to say? Staple holes were. They pulled off the ribbon really easily, but there were just some little holes from the staple. And then as you can see, the paper in the front just actually peeled off pretty easily. So I did peel it off, and I actually think I decided to paint this side because it was such a clean finish. But if it doesn't come off easily for you, you can paint the other side. It doesn't matter. And we're going to do those 3 paints that you just saw there from Waverly Chalk Paint. We're using white, crimson, and ocean. We're going to be using that throughout all of our DIYs today because they're perfect patriotic colors, but you could use whatever paints you have. Other blues and reds will work as well. We're going to paint each of our stars, each of the colors, red, white, and blue, and I am going to paint the edges as well. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Leanne, and I love sharing budget-friendly DIYs with you. And if you are into that kind of thing, I would love it if you would consider hitting that subscribe button before you leave and make sure that the notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out on my future videos. Right now, I share videos about once a week with an occasional second video thrown in there. All right, so now that our stars are dried, I didn't want my white to be just a plain white, so I'm going to use this washi tape. Well, it's not called washi tape, but I think it's like washi tape. It is from the Crafter Square section at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use it like you would painter's tape, but it's much thinner, and we're going to make some stripes here, and I'm just using a little piece of it in between each one to kind of give me my spacing. And I purposefully did not do this straight up and down across the middle. You'll see, depending on how you look at the star, the stripes might look crooked, but that is on purpose. And then once I have all of our tape on there, I'm going to paint every other white stripe that you can see in red, and then the other ones in blue. So it'll end up being alternating red, white, and blue. And I do let that dry in between coats, but I give it 2 to 3 coats for the saturation of the color that we're looking for. This was my first time using this little tape as like a painter's tape, and I think I'm going to be using it a lot more. I just love the different designs and patterns you can do with it, and because it's narrower than a painter's tape, you just kind of have more options. I know that they sell painter's tape in different widths as well, but this is just so small, and you get quite a bit of it. I think there was like 5 or 6 rolls in it from the Dollar Tree. You could, of course, just use the tape for designs itself and not as a guide to paint, but nonetheless. Once I had all my coats of paint on, I'm peeling off the washi tape, or I'm not sure what I should be calling it, but the tape, and I had really good crisp lines for the most part, and yeah, it was perfect. So now we're just going to kind of distress this with that Waverly Antique Wax, mostly on the white one with the stripes, but I did do it on the edges of all of them. And we're just going to hot glue this onto the sign. Now you could also add like a USA, one letter on each of the stars if you want. I didn't want any words on this. I'm going to kind of use this as a backdrop to one of my displays in my home for my patriotic decor. So I just hot glued them on in a kind of a random pattern, and I love how this one came out. Next up, I have this little sign that I picked up from Hobby Lobby on clearance. I love looking through Hobby Lobby's clearance section, but you could do that at any craft store, any clearance section, anywhere, Dollar General, or just find a sign at the Dollar Tree. They have them in different sizes, and I just sanded it down a little bit, and then we're going to coat the whole thing in Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and that did take about 3 coats, I think. But once that was all dry, we're going to make some stripes with some painter's tape. Now I ended up adjusting this because I didn't want it to be super even, and well, because basically the amount of stripes I wanted to do across weren't going to quite fit. So then I'm going in with some more of that thin tape as well, and I end up adjusting this a couple of times. You'll see in the end, but you can do even stripes, you can do however you want to do that, but we're going for some red and white stripes because we're doing patriotic DIYs. So once again, giving that a couple of coats, letting it dry in between. And then once I peeled off the tape, that's when I realized that I knew these stripes weren't going to be even, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted. So I went back in and made a few more and painted it again. My DIYs often evolve as they go because I think I have an idea, but I kind of have to see it, and that's the fun of crafting and creating, at least for me, is just kind of being, creative and figuring it out as you go, changing your mind, whatever. So we're going to set that to the side. I picked up this pack of 12 stars from Hobby Lobby, and it was in their it was in their patriotic section. It was $1.99, but that stuff was either 40% off or 50% off. I can't remember. So a great price. So it's not expensive for everything at Hobby Lobby, so definitely check it out. And I'm going to give this star a good coat of the color Ocean. And then we are going to just sand down our little sign here just a little bit. I'm wanting everything to kind of look a little bit more rustic, not like overly rustic, but not perfect, which makes doing DIYs a little bit easier because if you mess up, it's okay. It's not supposed to be perfect anyway. So once I had the star and the sign sanded down, we're going to go in with a little bit of that antique wax. You're going to kind of see a theme here in the DIYs, but it's a themed video. And we're just going to put a little bit of that on the edges, and on the sign you can kind of see I did it across the whole thing. And we're going to use some hot glue and attach this star to the center. Actually, none of the DIYs today have any words on them. I might be doing another patriotic DIY video before the month is out. I'm not sure. But anyways, I love how this came out. This will be perfect. I think I'm going to do a tiered tray for 4th of July. So that's kind of what I have in mind for this. And now I'm taking, for our last one, I'm actually just going to repurpose one of my other old DIYs. I had made this house sign, a double-sided one, and this was using a wood piece from the Dollar Tree, but I also have picked up ones on clearance from Hobby Lobby and whatnot, and we're just going to redo one side of it. So I'm taking off a sticker, and then I'm sanding it down. This one was a little bit of a struggle because there was Mod Podge on it from my last project. So I was trying to kind of rough that up and sand that off. And if you had an electric sander, you'd probably do a better job than I did. But then I'm just going to give it a couple coats of white paint. So I'm leaving the other side alone. It's still going to be a double-sided sign, but one will be able to be used for 4th of July. I kind of do patriotic from like Memorial Day to 4th of July, but obviously I made a few since Memorial Day, so these will just be added to my collection. I am once again making some stripes, and I taped off the top. So we're just going to do from like the bottom part, kind of like the roof line is where I put the line of painter's tape. Anyways, we're going to give a couple of coats once again of the crimson. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out so much. So does your interactions on my post by just even liking it. And of course subscribing, but the comments and liking it, all of that kind of engagement on the video lets YouTube know that you're enjoying what you're seeing. If you watch the whole video, if you let ads play, I'm not saying you have to do all those things, but any of those things really do help me out, and I appreciate all of that. So now I'm just taking these little star stickers. I've had these forever, but you can get these at the Dollar Tree. They come in a big pack. And I'm just going to apply these at the top. Doesn't matter the color because we're going to paint over them. First I tried to do random, and then I realized I didn't like it, so I went back and tried to make them a little bit
more in a pattern. You can do that however you want. You could also use your Cricut for something like this. I did have some bleed through on these stickers. They're not perfect. I probably should have used a stencil brush for this part here, but it's okay. I was going for rustic. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I painted over the stickers with that ocean colored paint once again. And I'm using this little tool from the Dollar Tree. I think it's used for Cricuts, but it's great for other crafting uses. And I'm just peeling off each of the stars. And I also use it to scrape off a little bit of the blue paint that kind of bled through in some of the points of the stars. But like I said, it does not need to be perfect. So once I had all the stickers off, I pulled off the other piece of painter's tape. And once everything was fully dry, I'm going to sand down the edges along with just the surface. Once again, like I did with the other DIYs, just going with the rustic theme, we're going to go over it with a little bit of that antique wax again and making it look a little bit old and weathered and kind of like America. Old, weathered, but still wonderful. And there it is. I love this piece. Again, this is perfect for like a tiered tray. And I was really pleased with how these came out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new. And if you want to see more patriotic DIYs, let me know down in the comments below. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.